Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mitt podcast, episode number 161. In this episode, I'm going to be breaking down the art of timing, how to use it to your advantage, and how to actually make better moves, better decisions in every single area. And this topic, time, is extremely interesting, yet kind of confusing. In fact, I heard a couple of weeks ago something that blew my mind, was that if you were viewing Earth from extremely far away into space, I think it was like 10 or 20 light years away, maybe 100, something crazy far away, and you were looking at Earth with a telescope and you could perfectly see it, because of how long it takes for light to travel, you would actually be viewing Earth over 2,000 years ago during the Roman Empire. It doesn't even make sense to me. You could be traveling that far into space and not aging, yet, like in the movie Interstellar, they're traveling to all these far planets and everyone was basically saying the exact same age, and he's watching his kids grow old and eventually die. We came up with it to rationalize and not go crazy, to understand how long are we living, what day it is. It's all things that humans needed to survive and operate. But timing is such an interesting thing, because you could be the most talented, experienced, well put together person, and you go after running for office in politics or starting a business. But because you did it 1 year, 2 years, or even 5 years earlier or later, it doesn't work. And someone could be less talented than you, but they chose to do it and act at the right time, that they ended up becoming the most successful person ever. It's like YouTube is a great example. There were multiple people that tried to start YouTube 2 to 3 years before, and even I think 1 year before YouTube launched. But because the internet wasn't ready to support digital videos uploaded in high quality, they didn't succeed. They could have been more talented, they could have had more experience, they could have been better technical founders, but just literally doing something at the right time gives you a competitive advantage. I do believe all of our steps are ordered, but I do believe we have the ability to co-create our life. And when you think about the magnitude of every small decision you make and how it causes a ripple effect in your business, in your relationships, in your life, in your health, if you think about it too much, it's a bit scary. It's a bit daunting. But if you have the right intentions and you're doing the right habits and the right things daily, and you pray and you're guided by God, then I think all of your steps are ordered and you end up in the most beautiful and incredible predicaments and outcomes, that when you actually look at all the steps that it took to get to that one person, which took you to these 27 people and this conference and this meeting, which all of a sudden helped you build this big company, and it's 10 years later and your life's changed forever. If you wouldn't have taken that one step or that one phone call, none of that would have happened. Timing is very instinctive, but it is also very methodical. So I want to talk to you. I'm going to go through 4 steps to help you become better at timing. And I'm going to give you a personal story of where I've actually messed up and then learned from my mistakes and recovered. And hopefully it will kind of help you not only relate, but kind of see it in a different lens of how we can better grasp this and become better with timing. Okay. So this was my second job, and I'd moved back from Houston from New York, and I was in sales, and I had got myself promoted as a regional sales manager. I was so young. I was 22 years old. I had never managed anybody before, much less led. I was a pretty good leader. I was good at sales, but I had no idea what I was doing. And it was about 4 to 5 months in, and I had met the CEO of the company, and we hit it off. I mean, we were like boys. Even though he was a lot older than me, we just clicked. We got along. Every time that one of us was in town, we connected, we grabbed drinks, we hung out. We had a lot of similar interests. At the time, I was running the Houston market, and I was slowly rebuilding this team because I had taken over this team. Long story, that market had fell apart. I get the opportunity probably sooner than I should have. And next thing you know, we have about 8 to 10 people, and we're doing good. We're not doing elite. We're not doing anything crazy, but we are doing pretty good. Now, I'd been manager, like I said, for probably 4 or 5 months at this time, give or take. And I said, I'm sitting there driving and I'm so motivated. I want to move up. I want to be successful. And I'm like, I came up with this idea. What if we built 3 offices in Houston and I ran all of them and I scaled it bigger than any market in the country? And then I could become a director. I could do this, all these things. So I said, screw it. I'm going to call the CEO. It's like a random Tuesday. It's like 2:00. And we talked a lot, but I was just like, screw it. And I said, hey, I came up with this idea. What if we did this and this and this and this and this? And I was so sure that he was going to be like, man, that's a great idea. This kid's young and he's already got these great ideas. This is going to be amazing. I fully thought that's what he was going to say. And I mistaken our relationship and good chemistry and a little bit of early success and let it get to my head that I stopped thinking with actual logic and then also using my instincts. I let the emotions get the best of me. And he goes, I like where you're thinking, but I think it's a little early for that. I think we'll probably at some point hire a couple managers, and then whoever ends up being the best or the best team will end up managing that one. But I like where your head's at. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that sounds good. And I hang up and I just felt super defeated. I mean, have you ever tried to do something before it was ready and then you were blindsided by the person's answer? It could have been any subject. And it kind of makes you feel a little dumb, a little out of the loop. Like you're just like, how did this happen? How did I miss this? It's kind of how I felt. And because of that little small mistake, I had to kind of pull away, and it was a wake-up call for me that I got ahead of myself. And if I had built enough credibility and success for that market, that would have been a no-brainer for him. Or I would have already been, able to get more opportunities. And so what I learned is that I had the right idea, I had the right ambition, but I did not have the right timing. And so for the next 6 months, I committed to building the absolute best market in the country while building the best relationships, connecting with everyone in the company, being humble, not asking or telling the CEO or anybody in the company what to do, just being a winner. And I made the decision to let my results speak for myself because I was young. I didn't have all this experience. I just came into this role, and I committed myself to that. And we scaled that office, and it was top in sales, and we were one of the top 2 markets. And then all of a sudden, when you least expect it, the Kansas City market lost their regional manager and was struggling. And because I had the best market, and it's been another 6 months, I built more relationships, who did the CEO call? He called me. And he said, hey, we don't have a manager in there. Do you mind managing these guys until we find someone? I said, sure, I'll take it. I turn around Kansas City, and then all of a sudden, hey, we're going to expand Orlando. Can you help us? Hey, we're going to expand to Tampa. Next thing you know, 3 or 4 months down the line, I'm managing like 7 markets at 22, about to be 23 years old, doing, probably 3-4 million a month in revenue at such a young age. And I had to learn how to manage like 40-something people. And then I ended up being offered like running the company and all this crazy stuff. And then I started my own gig. But my point to you is that you have to know when to strike. There are years when weeks happen, and there are weeks when years happen. Have you guys ever seen a week where a war starts, the stock market crashes, it comes up, everyone makes this money, there's a peace deal that happens, this famous person dies, then this happens, and then this happens, and it's the craziest thing ever, or even in your own life. I have so many entrepreneurship friends that have experienced this, I've experienced this, where you make more in one day or 1 week than you have in your entire life combined. Or you work your entire life for this one small moment on this random Tuesday that changes your entire life because you had this conversation or this speech or this meeting that turns into this massive deal or massive opportunity. Life is very interesting. And the way to become better at this is to never be in a hurry. I'm going to put 4 steps to do this. And this is number 1. Going slow is sometimes better than going fast. And going slow actually causes you to surpass people, even though it doesn't look like it at the beginning. It's like the story of the turtle and the hare. The hare, obviously a rabbit, is as fast as it can go and is way faster than a turtle. And the turtle was running, or not the turtle, the hare was running all over the place, zigzagging around, taking pictures, thinking it was cool, running back and forth and teasing the hare. But while it was distracted with all the chaos because he thought he was so good, the turtle just kept taking a step, kept taking a step, kept taking a step, until suddenly, to the hare's surprise and everyone's surprise, the turtle ended up winning. When you are methodical in your actions and you do boring things consistently, and you're not reactive and needy, and you're not in a rush because you know everything always works out for you. What happens when you do that, not only do you typically have more intention in a clearer direction, but because you're not as reactive, you're able to see the playing field. You're not trying, I got to get a win by this, or I found out I don't know how I'm going to make it. That needy energy doesn't exist. You're just slow and steady. So what happens is you start anticipating and seeing things that the rest of the world isn't seeing because you're playing the long game. One of the things I highly recommend any of you guys that run a business, even if you don't, there's two specific videos that I would recommend. Number one is the Steve Jobs Stanford commencement speech. He talks about you can only connect the dots going backwards. And he talked about his life, how he got fired from Apple, and then that helped him build Next, but also build Pixar, which he sold to Disney, and that became, Toy Story and all those great movies. And then eventually changing up the Macintosh into building the iPod and then the iPhone. And all of these things would have never happened if he didn't get cancer when he did, or if he didn't get fired when he did. And life works in a very interesting way. The other one is to study the CEO and founder of NVIDIA. And it's a $5 trillion, it's almost a $6 trillion company, if I'm not mistaken. And when you look at how successful he is, he was still CEO in 1999. And if you go back and watch him speaking, it's cool watching these videos on YouTube, where he is completely focused on the long game. He was never worried about, he was to a point, but he was so forward thinking that they were working on and building things in the market that no one even knew they needed. When they put together the first computer that they're using for AI, they tried to sell it and nobody wanted it. And one entrepreneur came, looked at it, and bought it. It was Elon Musk. And this was in 2018. Think about how crazy AI is getting now and how everyone's is destructing entire industries. It's changing the way we do business. It's exploding with growth. And this is 2026 right now. You might be looking at this 10 years from now and we have robots everywhere. But in even 2018, NVIDIA was worth 1,000 times less than it is now, and no one wanted their products. But he was so forward thinking and patient that he wasn't trying to build NVIDIA into this big company so he could be the richest person in the world. He was doing it because he trusted and believed in the vision. He had a great product there no one wanted in 2018. But because NVIDIA was 5-10 years ahead of everyone else, when the boom happened with AI, they were positioned for it. They were ready to take on that demand. And because they were ready, NVIDIA surpassed. No one could have anticipated this 7-8 years ago, that some small chip manufacturing company like NVIDIA would be bigger than Google and would be bigger than Apple. I could not even imagine that, thinking about this in 2020 or 2018. But that's what happens when we understand the art of timing. The CEO of NVIDIA was not in a rush. He knew what was going to eventually happen, and he was rewarded for it. And that's what happens when you take your time, you're steady, and you wait for your moment to come. The second thing is every person and every environment has a different pace. And just because they have one pace now doesn't mean they're going to have the same pace later, right? Some moments you have to slow dance. Other moments are quick and you have to take advantage of your opportunity. And if you don't, you lose. But most of those things is being ready to strike. And that goes into the third thing that is the most important, is if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. The reason why we oftentimes miss really big opportunities is because we weren't preparing for them when they weren't there. Have you ever had some life-changing opportunity or just some incredible, internship, job, relationship, maybe some stock you picked or this business? But if you think back 3 to 5 years ago, you would have never, ever, ever thought that you would be working at this company or living in this city or dating this person. And you think about it, like, what you think about it? Like 5 years ago, you would have never expected you had this life right now in any way. But what gives you the competitive advantage is if you're saving money every week, if you're buying stocks every week, if you're reading, learning, networking. You might shake one hand tomorrow or next week that doesn't change your life for 15 years. But in 15 years, that relationship you built, they tell one person and all of a sudden you end up doing something that changes the world or changes your life. But because you are playing the long game and preparing, being healthy, preparing, learning, that when this next venture or opportunity or handshake happens, you're ready for it. Think about Olympic athletes for a second. They practice every single day for 4 years plus, not even counting the previous years of the Olympics. Every day. They eat right. They mentally train themselves. They have mental coaches, physical coaches. They have strategists. Every single day for hours and hours and hours. Michael Phelps would be in a pool every single day for the last 15, 20 years till he retired. All to work for one race or one day or one weekend of a couple races. They do the same thing tens and tens and tens of thousands of times to do something 1 to 3 times. That's how life is. You practice every single day, selling, speaking, communicating, calling, 10,000, 100,000 cold calls to suddenly meet an investor randomly in New York 15 years from now that gives you a check for $50 million to invest in your company. And all of that work was for that one 15-minute conversation. I was telling one of these entrepreneurs I work with, has a great company, super successful. The premise of this is that some of the biggest deals or conversations I ever had were the most underwhelming. And you picture it, it's going to be like this movie, but it's this casual, calm conversation. It's like, hey, where you guys at deal-wise? We're doing this our revenue. We think it'd be a good collaboration. We'd be open to that. Would you guys do this or this? I would do it for this. I'm down. Let's paper it. Cool. I'll send it over next week and everything looks good. We can do it. And let me know when you're in Arizona. Let's go grab dinner. Okay, cool. And then all of a sudden I talk to the other executive, another executive. They talk to my people. Bam, a deal is done. It wasn't this hard-nosed negotiation. It was just this relaxed convo. And you worked 5 years to have the most lighthearted conversation like you two are just having a coffee together. But sometimes that's what all of that preparation does to prepare you for that one moment. And then the setup that you've done in your business, in your life, in your relationships, in your communication, financially, spiritually, prepare you for that moment. And that's why no matter what you face in life, and some of you might be going through difficult challenges right now, never get resentful towards the world or towards people, because you're a couple good months away from a completely different life. And that forward momentum creates new opportunities that can give you every single thing that you want, right? And last is knowing when to wait and knowing when to strike. When the moment is right, you have to act. You have to be decisive. You have to make the call, give the ask, close the damn deal. But if it's not ripe, always, always be willing to walk away. Always be willing to walk away. your competitive advantage, Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett has done this as good as anybody. He has probably the largest known cash position anywhere. I mean, he's got more cash than the Federal Reserve, which isn't federal and isn't a reserve, but that's another conversation. But he has almost 400 billion, if not more, in sitting cash, and he is waiting for a deal. He just had an interview last week where he said, if we have a deal right now, we're ready to go. We'd love to buy a great business, but he's just waiting and waiting and waiting. He doesn't have FOMO, even the new CEO. They've done a couple buys, but they're steady and they're watching the market to see what to do with all that capital. That is a competitive advantage. So just having capital and having a network before you need it is how you trust the art of the timing. You eliminate needy behavior. And when, not if, that right opportunity comes, bam, you can strike. Because you're never in a hurry, but you're always ready to pull the trigger. So I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. If you enjoy it, guys, please leave a 5-star review and review below. Share it with a friend, post it on your story. But most importantly, have an incredible week. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys again for 162. Thanks, guys.